Welcome back to As If We Know. Today we are going to discuss the blueprint for work.
We're exploring questions like why does work feel heavier, more loaded, and more emotional than it used to? And what happens when the old promise of work, things like stability and success, no longer hold? We'll dive into all of that and more on As If We Know, the podcast where we recognize that we know nothing, neither do you, and that's okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about work. Let's talk about how work feels right now. Let's talk about why we wanted to talk about work.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to tell you is that almost everybody I know is going through it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So people are either pivoting, people's industries are being completely disrupted, and they're having to think about what could their secondary career be or their side hustle be. People are realizing that actually they had a lifelong dream to do something else, and now that they're at the age of 38 is the time to completely go back to school and study that thing.
Yeah.
I just have so many stories from everybody I know of people kind of questioning, examining, and changing up the way that they work.
Mm-hmm.
So what is going on?
But I think we've been there too, actually.
We're there. We're in it
We
with
are
you.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, we are there. Because we've done that. We are still doing it. You know, we have a job, we follow the rules. But it's just the relationship we have with it that I think can be improved and better. And the question is, and the answers are not always easy, how can we improve that relationship with job? Because most of the time I feel, or actually like that's what I'm surrounded with. I don't know if it's the case with you. Like I hear from friends or even for myself when I was like, you know, at this certain job or this other job, I was like, oh my God, I hate my job. Or what do we do to get through it? Or it's more that feeling. How can you improve that to have a better relationship with that situation? Because it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. People are reevaluating their relationship to work, but I think the two work together. So I think on the one hand, you have these external circumstances that are happening. So industries being completely disrupted, businesses reconfiguring themselves, God forbid, maybe doing layoffs. Like this is happening all over. And at the same time, people are being like, well, if this career that I envisage for myself is not even that stable, maybe now is the moment for me to really, you know, recalibrate that relationship to my work and to what I'm doing, and to actually question, okay, if I'm going to have to change anyway, maybe I should change to something that's going to bring me more meaning and more satisfaction.
Yeah, and take ownership about that. Like it's not like all these external things. It's also what I truly want and how can I shift the way I see things so it improves.
Totally. It's a moment to kind of do it on your own terms and think about like what do I want to get out of this and how can I make it work for me? Yes, there's a very real reality that we all need to earn money. Of course, so, you know, we're not trying to be like delulu about the whole thing.
No.
But I think what's so cool to see is people are...
Sometimes I am, sorry.
You are, yeah.
I can just live in the forest with my unicorns. And the money comes from the sky.
Yes, and how's that going?
Very well. The Lulu till the end.
Perfect. But but it is true that people are like thinking about, you know, things that felt impossible or ill-advised or like that's not the right way to do it are now actually becoming completely possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, like this thing of people working 4 days a week and doing something else on the side, or this, you know, within my direct circle, I've got a couple of friends who have all gone down from working 5 days a week to 4 days. One is teaching on that Friday every week. So, really applying everything that he knows about science and engineering and really putting that back into youth, which is very gratifying. One is fulfilling his photography side hustle. So, working marketing during the week and then going off to shoot really cool events. One is refurbishing furniture.
Yeah, it's really exploring your passions and then
Exactly. It's
see
so
how you
cool.
can incorporate that in your life, because we all know work takes a lot of our time,
A
and
lot of our energy.
yeah, a lot of our energy, but also like most of our time. And how can we balance that with actually something that drives us really and is a passion? And we are evolving into that kind of an environment, I would say, or new system where that leaves us more space to do so, and then explore how we can incorporate that and still have a job and go on with life. And
Yeah. The existing blueprint that we were all taught was that how work works is you go to the university, you get qualified in something, or you study a course, or you get a certificate, you learn a trade, and that's going to be your career. And most likely you're going to stay in that career for the next 60 years or 40 years until you're 60. According to the original blueprint, you might even stay with the same company in the same job, and you will be guaranteed a healthy retirement.
yeah,
I think we all know that that is not the case at all anymore.
anymore,
Nobody is
no.
working for the same place for 40 years.
And that's so funny when you talk about like that blueprint, how it starts from the very beginning. Just so young, you need to find what you want to do with your life. And maybe that's already the issue,
Yeah.
It's like, how come am I supposed to know what I'm going to do when I'm so young and I don't know what's happening in the world, or I don't know what the world is
Or
about?
who I am.
Yeah, and oh, who I am, exactly. That's the most important, actually. And then you are asked to choose already something and then follow that path. Then
And
you,
invest a lot of time and a lot of money in that specific path.
yeah, exactly. And then after, at the end, maybe, oh, well,
Yeah. And the kind of, I guess, silent social contract is that if you are dedicated to that job, you work hard, you're a good colleague, you meet your deadlines, success should come your way. So hard work equals success. And I think that formula also is increasingly up for debate. It's not as linear and as clear as it was before.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure it worked in the past, but for sure, like today, it's not what's happening.
Not
And
at
we
all.
really need to figure out a way for each of us, like individually, what now success mean and how we can redefine what work is for each and everyone. And that's what's magical. It's like it can be really different from one person to another. I think that's very inspiring
Yeah.
in a way. And that also, even like what we do here, it's completely different from what we were doing and our job, but it sparkles also some creativity that we have inside and that we can express. And then just the fact of trying thing, even if it has to fail or the opposite succeed, it's so interesting because you take over that dimension that you might not have with work, because it's maybe more linear. That's how it works. These are the rules. This is how it should be done. And your creativity, you lose it a bit in that kind of situation. While when you do that, going into another path and then still, being okay with what you do with work and everything, like it sparkles some creativity and adds some dimension to your life in a
Totally.
way.
Yeah, I think that's almost a silver lining or an unintended consequence of the instability and the uncertainty that's happening in the work world right now is people almost feel emboldened to try those things that maybe they were thinking about in the back of their mind. But it's very hard to walk away from the stability of that 9 to 5, 5 days a week, because that is the path, that is everything that we know about. Okay, that's safe, that's stable. But now that it's becoming clear to all of us that maybe that thing is not as safe and stable and reliable for that 40-year long road as we thought before, we actually feel more energized, more incentivized to take that leap and try that thing that, we might have quietly wondered to ourselves. I wonder if there's more to what I could get out of work. I wonder if this little idea that I have could take off. I think this is the moment that, we're the generation of people saying yes to that whisper and trying those things.
It's very inspiring as a collective as well, because when you see someone of your entourage do that, then it kind of inspires you to just explore your side of, okay, maybe I can do it too. And then it's just like a snowball effect. And then maybe that's where we are going. And that's exciting for the future, I think.
Yeah. Another way that I've seen people relate to work differently, I don't know where this concept originally came from. It must have appeared in a book or something, but this idea of micro-retirement, which is that your career is not one long linear path, but it's actually, you can break it up, that 40 years that you theoretically, the blueprint said you work 40 years and then you retire the 20 to 30 years after that. The micro-retirement concept is that instead of all the work up front and then the long retirement, you almost break your career up into chapters and you take little mini retirements in between those phases. So I have one friend who took a sabbatical from work, and her boyfriend and their dog road tripped around Europe, all different countries from Italy to Albania to Greece. Super, super cool trip, living out of their car. And that 6 months really gave her, the fresh perspective, completely disrupting the routine, encountering little villages, different way of life, slow life. And again, she really came back from that energized, refreshed, and with a totally new outlook on how she wanted to live her life. So yeah, I guess it kind of gives you that opportunity to disrupt normal
and shift priorities.
Yes,
as well.
Reevaluate priorities and try to see how can you make your work life support the vision of your overall life that you have, rather than work as sort of this default option.
I love what you said about this micro-retirement periods, because it's taking ownership and kind of your power to say stop before actually burnout happen. Because sometimes you get to that point where it's too much and you reach that point of you cannot just move on. And here you have the power to just say, okay, I'm taking that break. I'm connecting back to myself, really what gives me meaning, and then come back healthier at my current job and situation, but with new priorities, with better ways of putting things together, like the time at work and the personal time. And I think you come, as you said, refreshed. And I feel that's powerful to be able to say, okay, I'm just going to do it now before we reach that point of no returns.
Yeah, you spoke about burnout. And there's another thing, a concept that I heard of, which I think is equally damaging, called bore out, which is where, so burnout is where you're so stressed and fatigued and you kind of reach that point of no return.
Yeah.
Bore out is where you're sort of on autopilot, you almost disassociate and you just continue the same thing, and your work kind of falls completely flat. You don't get anything out of it and you become sort of a shell of a person. You're not really engaged. And I think so, if you can find ways to interrupt those patterns and take that break, as you say, you can then really evaluate, is this working for me? Or do I need to make a change? And I think also taking those breaks can give you the impetus or the momentum maybe that you need to it makes it easier, this idea of making a career out of different chapters. So, maybe you're going to be a yoga teacher for some time. Maybe you're going to have a stint in corporate. Maybe you're going to move into teaching or coaching. I think we're seeing a lot of people whose careers will be multifaceted and based on these kind of stages with that nice little micro retirement in between.
Yeah, and we talked about all this technology, all these new tools that are coming and that are here, and that will allow us to do that as well, to just learn different skills at the same time and try different career paths until we find maybe the one that spark something within us. And
Yeah.
that's the magic of it.
It seems like we have this moment to reinvent stuff by necessity because stuff is changing so fast. And we can see a lot of these different options. It is also hard and scary to make that
Yeah.
leap. And also there's, a lot of people have a reality that they rely on their job and that stability. And, it's not always easy to really
for
kind
sure.
of make that leap. And so, yeah, but I do think that the more we talk about it, the more we kind of recognize that feeling, and the more we also kind of bring to light these stories of people who are doing it differently, who are making that career switch, who are taking that micro retirement, the more we might feel, the courage to figure out how that might look for us.
Yeah, it's a whole system. Not only we are the one working, but they are also the one employing us and making us work. And so I think that this message could be good for the whole system, and we can change things in both parts, because now companies are more open to let you go for a while and then let you come back refreshed, as before was not the case. And I think COVID, as bad as it was, helped with that, with all the work from home thing, and
You're
kind
so
of
right.
changed a lot in the way we work.
Yeah. One of the most eye-opening things about COVID was that it really revealed how
Yeah.
much of the assumed systems around work were just that. They were assumed, they were embedded, they were inherited from decades ago, but it really sort of shined a light on how much of that stuff is really still necessary.
And structure is good too, It's nice habit to be able to say, okay, I need to be there at this time, I need to do this, I have some deadlines. Freedom is great, but sometimes actually freedom can give you more anxiety because you have all these responsibilities that are behind. And actually, when you just you cannot be totally free from work. Like there is, as I said, a system, it puts you on the map, like economy map and, all that. But freedom can give you more anxiety because yes, you can succeed, but then you can also fail, and then you have no one else to blame but you. So that takes also courage. But yeah, it's nice to have that kind of environment as well.
Totally. And I think it goes back to what you were saying before about how each person needs to really figure out what that recalibrated ideal blueprint might look like for them. So, how much structure works for you? Where do you value your flexibility? And also what's important to you in work? I think a way that I find super helpful to think about the work experience is that there's different things that light you up and bring you joy from work. So it could be, you enjoy the actual the actual tasks that you have to do. It could be you love the people that you work with. It could be you love certain opportunities that your work brings you. It could be that you have a great work-life balance in your job. And so there's all these kind of different factors to consider, or little levers that you can pull up and down based on what's most important to you. And you almost need to figure out what's your magic mix or your sort of personal recipe to make that thing, to make that setup work for you. So, if your colleagues are not that important to you, then cool, that's something you can compromise on in your job. Or maybe it's, if you like working hard, you get a thrill from ambitious challenges and late nights, whatever that might look like, okay, then work-life balance is not going to be so important to you. So I think it's just about understanding what's your unique DNA within your relationship to work, and then kind of trying to build your work life and opportunity around that.
Yeah. And I think even if you don't have that, because I feel that all these elements are still very attached to work and the work, like, the work environment, the colleagues, the work itself. I think you can also work on everything within. For instance, your relationship to success. What is success in general? I think if you give another meaning to that, you can also be better with yourself, and then also consider other option as whether you want to keep going in that direction or you want to try something else. Also, what helped me a lot was giving less meaning to material things. Before I was like, oh, I love I love nice things, but before I was like, okay, I need to work, have that kind of career so I can, afford this, have that. But then I burned out myself, and then I started to have a better relationship to all of that, give less meaning to it, and in a way started to explore and being open to other paths.
That's a key.
Yeah.
That's an unlock. I think because you're so right that part of that original blueprint is really tying work to material access.
Yeah.
And you can essentially buy yourself so much freedom if you let go of that link and that attachment. So, because then the question is not, okay, I have to just get the highest paying job no matter the cost because I want those material things and because that's my top priority. But it's more then becomes, okay, as you said, like, what is going to fulfill me? What is going to bring me purpose? What is going to bring me satisfaction?
True. Okay, so maybe I'm curious, what is the worst job experience that you had?
So I've actually been working since I was 14.
Wow.
Doing, I always had to like work for my pocket money. So there was moments where I was like working in a shop. I was a waitress, and within my waitressing days, one of the worst jobs that I had was, so it was kind of like the local neighborhood bar. The community would just kind of get there and like get a little bit loose on a Friday and Saturday night. And they would often give us extra job options. So some of the locals, might hire us as waitresses for their private events or their birthday parties. And so one time my manager came to me and said, Dave is having his 40th birthday and they're looking for a waitress to kind of serve the drinks at this 40th birthday. And I was like, sweet, like, sign me up. That's going to be a Saturday night working 5 or 6 hours. And so I go to Dave's 40th birthday and I'm setting up the bar, I'm arranging glasses, I'm setting up snacks. And then as the party's about to start, Dave's 1 or 2 best friends had arrived and they're like, oh, you need to wear this. And they hand me a T-shirt that's where they've printed Dave's drink slave on the T-shirt. And I had to wear that. Yeah. I mean, this was like 15, maybe 20 years ago. So different time.
Oh my God.
And I had to wear that T-shirt and serve drinks and shots. I mean, I needed the money, no? And like, I couldn't really leave. So
that's a good example of like a work, like you.
I had to disassociate. But imagine me being like 24 years old and pouring shots to these like old men at their 40th birthday wearing a T-shirt that said Dave's drink slave.
Drink slave.
That was the worst job I ever had. But thank God it was only one day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was a...
I can't say it was a learning experience. I didn't learn anything at all.
Because that's what I was going to say. If I have to tell you about like a bad job experience, I would say everything, but I got lessons from them at least. But no.
Yeah.
No.
extremely problematic times in the early
Yeah.
2000s.
But like, and I think that's an important thing also. It's like when you say dissociate, it's kind of bring it back to do not let work define your identity. And I feel sometimes that's what we do. Um, okay, when someone asks you, "Oh, what do you do?" That's
True.
the worst question for me is like, "What do you do?" Well, I don't know what I do. I do this, I do that, you know. So I really come to that point where I'm completely like out of it in a way that I really don't let my work define me. So it's very difficult to say, especially now that I'm trying a bit of everything. Um, but that's a good example of
Yes, I mean that was a one-day job. So,
yeah,
but you're
but
right. In general, like the
in
point stands.
general, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. In general,
yeah. So true. I think we should normalize asking people alternate questions at dinner
yeah,
parties other than
exactly.
what do you do? Things like what are you into right now? What was the
Mm-hmm.
last album you listened to that lit up your soul?
Yeah, exactly. More stuff like that.
Tell me
What lit
about
up your soul?
yeah.
That's
Tell
all.
me about the most amazing book you read in the last year.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
just like, what talked to your heart, or you just like connect more on energy. I don't know,
so
something
true.
lighter.
Yeah.
It reminds me, sorry, of a song I've listened to, and it just like every time lights up my heart when I hear it. It's like a woman asking a kid, she's like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And the kid says, "I want to be a doctor." And she asks, "Oh, how much do you want to make?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to make people feel okay." And I'm just like,
Oh,
every time I hear that, I'm just like, oh,
that's a
I have
song?
goosebump. Yeah, it's part of a song. I
Uh,
cannot remember the name. And thank you for that song. I think that's what it should be with everyone, you know? It's
yeah.
like not how much you want to make, how do you want to look like with your job, you know? It's more like
What do
really
you want to
what
get out of it? Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you bring to others with it? Or
Maybe a better way to answer that question of what do you do is you can say, I prefer to tell you what I'm into, or I prefer to tell you
yeah.
something else about
Or
me, you
maybe a new
know?
question, how do you make a difference? In something that what you said, like work less, get more, that's something also that I'm trying to get into, because I feel we can get there. I don't know how, as if we know. I don't know how yet, but I feel there might be solution there to not be as crazy. Like, as we said earlier, when COVID happened, we were convinced that we had to stay 8 hours a day at our desk in front of our computers nonstop to be kind of efficient at work. And now we notice that, oh, well, that's not the case anymore. You see, we kind of could work around it. And now, why can't we find a solution to actually get more and more into that of, okay, how can I get more, enjoy more of my life, of my time? Um,
For me, that's the big opportunity of AI. And I really hope, I think, we're in this kind of precarious moment with AI around like, how's it going to be used? And I really hope that as a world, we agree that AI should help us, take care of all of those pieces of work that we shouldn't necessarily have to do, stuff that is taking up all our time, stuff that is supporting the systems, answering emails, setting up meetings, logging into systems, all of these things that could and should be automated
yeah,
so
not
that
be
we can
ashamed of
focus
it.
on, and let us, instead of focusing on how do we fill those 8 hours, focus on how do we make the best use of the skills and expertise that we have.
Yeah, it can either go that way or the other way with AI. It's just like, oh, you can do more now because he's taking these tasks and these tasks
Yeah.
and these tasks. Like, I'm not sure it's
We don't
going to
want
be like,
that.
oh, no, we don't want that.
No.
We're just like, oh, look, AI can do it for myself. Like, I'm just working with it. I have more time now, so I'm taking a day off. So,
Yeah.
so I wish it goes that direction instead of the other one, because at the end we are still humans, and there is like so much we can take and learn in such short amount of time because everything is going so fast. And that also like a lot of noise that you see on social media, on LinkedIn, for instance, how to be the best marketer, or to be the best communication strategist. Here are the 8 steps to be the best of this, of that. It's so. It's
LinkedIn
like,
makes me feel like I'm in an episode of The Office. It feels like everybody's playing a character,
yeah,
everybody's trying to kind of show up as their most, corporate approved
yeah,
self. I feel that pressure and I definitely do it too.
yeah. I feel the pressure. I
But
do
again,
it
yeah,
too.
it feels like work is this game that you have to play, or this, this, yeah, this character that you have to project.
Until when, actually? Because we feel it. We play the game, but then it's not authentic at all. But everybody is doing it. Like, it's like fooling everyone, and everyone is knowing that we are fooling everyone,
Yeah.
but we keep doing it. It's kind of
It's
funny,
funny. It is
actually.
funny. I find LinkedIn such a funny
Yeah,
place.
exactly. But at the same time, it's funny and it can give you anxiety because you're like, oh my God, but I'm not that kind of person. Oh my God, but I didn't do that. Oh my God. And then it adds all this pressure that, oh, does that make me less off because I didn't follow your 8 step, or I didn't follow that course, or I actually don't know these all these skills for that job. So yeah, it's better to see it like, as you say, as an episode of The Office. But
It's all a show, and we're all just stepping into character.
yeah,
Yeah.
but until when, really, love? Because like that's not
I
no.
think it goes back to what you were saying before of how can we, sh- you know, adapt our relationship to work so that we're not showing up in that space as a disconnected version of ourselves, or something that we have to kind of project, or a mask that we have to wear, but we're
Yeah,
actually showing up. And I think you can always tell on LinkedIn, like there's those people who clearly, they sound like ChatGPT, and then there's people where you're like, okay, that's a unique voice that I can, that person has said something in a way that I can hear is very, very clear to them and their vision and their point of view and their experience. And that's for me, even that's how you actually stand out more in those spaces anyway. So I think more of that authenticity, of that integrity, I think it not only makes you feel like you're not, fooling yourself, but it also will probably make you more successful in the long run too.
that's what's good about it. It's like everybody is unique. Everybody has his own idea of success, own idea of what job and work should be, and as long as we each of us evolved in the direction that we want and that speak to our heart, I think there is like a space for everyone to be happy with work. And yeah, let's
Yeah,
stay positive and hopeful.
exactly. I think you nailed it. It's like there's no one path that's
Exactly.
clear. So we're in a moment where we're reimagining the blueprint, we're building it up, and each one of us can take that opportunity to think about what that means to us,
Yeah.
what's going to bring us satisfaction, what kind of job are we looking for, and how can we design our work life in a way that's going to light us up.
Yeah. Let's be creative. Let's
Yeah.
try. Let's fail. Let's try again. Let's grow.
Yeah.
And
And let's also normalize sharing our journeys
yeah.
a bit more, not in the fake LinkedIn way, but just in
Yeah.
the like, hey, we know it's rough out there. We know everybody's kind of trying to learn stuff, trying to figure it out. And the more people share real
Yeah.
experiences and real things that they've learned, I think the more other people can kind of see, hey, it's possible for me to also think a little bit further or imagine something else for myself.
Yeah. They can always be like something very inspiring in everyone's journey to learn about and to learn from. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's someone out there who is working in your industry right now, whatever industry you work in, who is probably asking these same questions that you might be asking. So it's
True.
always worthwhile to, again, power of community.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. Because we know nothing, we like to look everywhere for information, any little gems, tips, and tools that the universe might want to send our way.
Exactly.
And so let's do our fortune cookie of the week.
Let's go.
Good to begin well, better to end well. So true. So true. Start things how you mean to finish them. and finish the damn thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't.
It's easy to start, right?
Yeah. Then you need to keep going.
You need to keep going. Consistency, you need to see it through.
Yeah. Even if
That's
it's
so
not
true.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Thank you so much for joining us. You are welcome to follow As If We Know podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
See you next time.